What's going on, guys? It's Pastor Josh. I'm so glad that you're joining us today for the message, either on the website or on the app. If this ministry has been a blessing to you and to your family, I would encourage you to join us in giving financially. You can do that if you'd like today in the link below. And this is a great opportunity to continue to help us spread the word of God. Hope you enjoy the message. See you soon.
Man, what a blessing it is. Today is Orphan Sunday, and for a lot of people, they're like, what does that even mean? And if you're new to our church, we do this every year between the first and second weekend in November. And it's just been a huge blessing for us. I believe this is probably year 8, I think, somewhere around there for us as a church. And we are very thankful to have Faith and Fostering. They're in our house this morning, and so we're very thankful for them to be here and to give us information after the service is over, as well as some of our very own who are represented at the table again, and that's going to be right in the back, is CASA as well as Fostering. And so we're going to talk about some amazing stuff that's happening right here. Sometimes when you get hit with the numbers about how many orphans there are in the world, which is a little over 153 million orphans, that's overwhelming, and you're like, I can't do anything about that, and that's not my calling, and so on and so forth. And we try our best on Orphan Sunday to share what God is already doing in our midst, already taking place. Families in here, some in the first service, some in the second service, who are already making a massive difference in the lives of so many children, so many people who are fostering and doing other things, even adopted within our own church. And so I think it's a very encouraging thing to be able to talk about that. Now, the giving tree right over here to my right, your left, now that is a huge deal. For anyone who's been here, you know what it is. For those who are new here, when you grab a tag off of the tree, whether you get a gift or whether you have a certain amount of money that you want to give towards it because you don't have the time or whatever, either one is perfect. It meets the needs of children within our area, within our community, who otherwise aren't going to have an opportunity to have very much at all for Christmas. And a lot of these things you're going to notice when you grab the tag is that it's not extraordinary stuff. Nobody's asking for an Xbox or anything like that. Like, this is just basic needs in most cases. And so we're able as a church to really put a dent, make a difference in our community. And I think that is exactly what we are called to do, commissioned to do. I'll go a little bit further. Let's make it a little more personal as well as just direct. Commanded to do as by the Lord, that we would meet the needs of other people when we're capable of doing that. And so I would encourage you after the service, come check it out, grab a tag or two or how many. I'd love to knock them all out during this and the next service this Sunday. And then make sure to go over there to the table in the back to say hello, to thank some of them. We have a video this morning. We have a special guest speaker, Miss Amy McCartney. She's going to be sharing with us the things that are happening specifically as a judge here within our community. And so it's just a really, really good morning. So I want to prep you a little bit. I don't want to forget, though. Let me do our memory verse before I keep going too far. Our memory verse, if you hopefully got one of the cards, it's in the front and in the side hallway entrance. Our memory verse is Luke 12:15. If y'all will, say it with me. Then he said to them, watch out, be on your guard against wanting to have more and more things. Life is not made up of how much a person has. That is something we need to hear, need to repeat to ourselves. My kids smoke me every single time we get a memory verse, and they've already memorized it, of course. And I'm over here like, they're like, Dad, why don't you memorize it so quick? I'm like, well, I just can't do it quite like you can do it. But we set aside the Sunday so we can know what's going on and how to make a difference. I think everybody in here wants to make a difference. Last night we had our dream team party, and it was phenomenal. Like, it was, sometimes you want it to be better than the one before, but like, there is no doubt in my mind that was the best one we've ever had. It was just fun. It was enjoyable to the max. It was great to see everybody. And when you see a room full of people, a large room at that, these are people who are making a difference every single Sunday. And so I have no doubt that our church continues to want to be a light and seeks to be a light and wants to make a difference. And so here's what you can expect from today. It's inside of your notes. I know a lot of people like to take notes. So in there, just short little points. Awareness, that's what today is really going to be about. Jesus said that you will always have the poor with you. He did not infer by saying that we have no reason to try to help those who are in need. No, we have every reason under the sun to help those in need. A lot of people, because of the hardness of their heart, will find every reason under the sun to not want to help those who are in need because of the situation maybe that they're in. But we don't know what they've gone through. We don't know psychologically, physically. We don't know where they're at. And so we are commanded as the church, as God's representatives, as ambassadors of Christ, we are commanded to do good. And honestly, it's an honor to be able to reflect our Father. It says this in Deuteronomy 15:11. For there will never cease to be the poor in the land. Therefore I command you, you shall open wide your hand to your brother, to the needy, and to the poor in your land. Like, we always need to be gracious and generous. And thankfully, man, we have a super generous church. I mean, just to be honest, like, when there is a need, it is met. When there's something happening, like, I love that we genuinely have a generous church. But this is another opportunity to fight against what so easily can happen to us, which is to become hard-hearted and just have a tight fist when it comes to wanting to help other people. And by giving, we really do break that. This morning, there's a million different ways that we can help those in need. And some of those are gonna look like offering a meal to a foster family. Like, we have families in here who are fostering right now. We have some of which that are about to go through the process, because after years of hearing this, the seed was planted and something beautiful is growing out of that. And so when you hear of someone and you say, oh, I hear that they're fostering, pray for them, yes. Offer to help them, yes, as well. Let them turn you down or say yes. We have one family in here who's rocking 5 kids deep, one of which is a foster child. And I want to tell you right now, pray for them. Can we get an amen? Anybody out there with kids? No, 5 kids deep. We need to pray for them, but also too is offer to help them if you know them, and that means anything from food to also possibly giving them a night to go on a date or something like that. Very practical things tonight. We can give financially or serve with faith in fostering. We can serve as a CASA, which I believe Amy's gonna share with you about that and other things as well. We can become a foster parent. You can learn more. Asking some of the people at the table. You're gonna see the video in just a little bit. Or we can even go towards adopting a child. Like, there's a million different ways to make a difference. Let's not say that there's none of those that are available to us, because they definitely are. Secondly is conviction inside of your notes this morning. So awareness is one, but then conviction to seek and want to do something. Again, the easy answer is, well, that's not for me. Okay, that's the easy answer, but you can do something and you should do something. That's the difference. You can do something, you should do something. So that might look like, again, helping someone who's already doing it, because you're like, I just don't feel like that's the right spot in my life at this moment, but I can definitely love on someone, I can help them, I can stand in the gap for them. So we wanna make sure to make a difference here. And then thirdly here, before I begin to hand this over, is empowerment. That's the big one for us. Every Sunday, hopefully, but also too, every single time that we have something like this, we don't want to just give you a bunch of information. We want to share the information that it might go to your head, but more importantly, that it might go to your heart, because that's where your action's going to begin to come from, is actually feeling the conviction of, I can do something and I should do something. And now we can do something through being empowered to do it. It says in Titus chapter 3, verse 14, let our people learn to devote themselves to good works so as to help cases of urgent need and not be unfruitful. So let our people learn to devote themselves, right? That's a religious term, devote. Like, not here and there, but like always. We are the church. We are the bride of Christ. We are his representatives here on earth, and we are called to make a difference. Walt Disney said it this way: the way to getting started is to quit talking and begin doing. That's the way to getting started, right? So we'll talk for a moment, but then again, at the end of this, we're gonna offer an opportunity to do something. So if y'all would, it's our privilege and honor to have my sister Amy McCartney to come up and speak. Y'all would give her a warm welcome, please.
Thank y'all. It's really my privilege and honor to get to speak with y'all this morning. So I just want to tell those who may not know, you have 2 judges in DeSoto Parish, district court judges, and I'm one of them, and I have the privilege of being your juvenile judge. So all juvenile matters in the parish come through me. So if you're not happy with something you've heard, the buck stops here. We'll talk about it later, not on the stage. Okay, so I want to talk to y'all a little bit about, when people think of juvenile court, most of the time they think about bad kids. They think about delinquency. But there's another side of juvenile court, and that's called child in need of care. And that is where foster care comes in. And so children who are in need of care are children who have been removed from their parents or guardians due to abuse or neglect. And so I want to give you, Josh told us there are 153 million orphans in the world. And that's just, it's hard to wrap your brain around that type of number. But I want to talk to you about DeSoto Parish. So in DeSoto Parish, we have 35 children currently who are in foster care. 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to speak with y'all, and at that time, there were 21 children in foster care. So what that tells me is we've had a 70% increase in 2 years, and that's scary. I want to tell you just a little bit about some of those families that we have in care. So one of them, there are 8 siblings in care. They all have the same mom, a few different dads. There is another family that we recently had a removal. There were 6 siblings who were brought into care. So that takes up 13. 2 families take up 13 of our 35 children who are in care. Of the remaining 22 kids that we have in foster care right now, we have sibling groups of 4 all the way down to a single child removal. So we kind of have a wide range. And so I want to talk to you about, there are 13 kids who are placed either with a relative, that may be a grandparent, an aunt, or someone that the child considers to be a relative. We call those fictive kin. So 13 of our kids are with relatives or fictive kins. That means that the remaining 22 are in the homes of people that they do not know. They're in true foster care in the home of what was a stranger to them before they were removed. So as you can imagine, removal is a very difficult and traumatic process. Sometimes we think, okay, well, the child is being abused. It must be terrible. They're being removed from a horrible situation, and so it's good that they were removed. And I mean, we are saving their lives in many instances when they are removed, but I can tell you without a single exception, every child that I have had to remove, the only thing they wanted to do was to go back home because that's what they know. Even though it's a difficult situation and it's a difficult environment, that's what they know, and that's who they believe is caring for them. And so they want to go back home. So removal is traumatic. But if you can only imagine, if you were removed from your family, you're sent to the home of somebody that you don't know. This person is trained and they have volunteered to do this, and they want to love you and they want to bring you in. And I want to encourage all of y'all to consider that as something that we desperately need in DeSoto Parish. But you go into that home as a child, and that home is not in your parish. So let's say you're removed from DeSoto, and you're placed in a home in Bossier. So what does that mean? That means that now you're not at your same school anymore. You're not with your friends. A lot of times these kids, the most stable place that they have is school. And I will tell you, I'll talk about this a little bit more in just a moment, but the overwhelming majority of reports that we get of child abuse and neglect come from our schools. And so I really want to commend the teachers, the paras, the staff at the schools, because not only are they educating our children, but they're loving our children, they're watching our children, and they're noticing things that are problematic, and they're reporting them when necessary. But so just imagine if you're a kid and so I'm no longer in North DeSoto, now I'm in, some Legacy in Bossier, and how, just difficult that is. So removals happen very rapidly. They went to school today, it got reported today, and by the time they left school, they were going to a home in Bossier. They're not going back home. And so I want you to kind of put yourself in the place of those kids about how there is such a desperate need for families who will love these children, who can bring them in the place that they are right now, and they can just give them love and comfort and structure and things that they haven't had in their own house. People are normally surprised when I tell them that overwhelming majority of removals are due to neglect. We normally think of kids being removed because they're being physically or sexually abused, and that does happen, but about 75% of cases here and nationwide are due to neglect. And so what does that really mean? That means inadequate supervision. That means that the family is not providing for the very basic needs of the child. We see this especially for children from infants to about 3 or 4, where those kids, they can't go and get food for themselves. They can't change their own diaper. They can't do those very basic things that they need a parent to do. And so kind of let that sink in for just a moment. I want to give you just an example that we had within the last year. This was a removal that happened in Frierson. There were 3 children. One was age 3, one was almost 2, and the other was 5 months. So some neighbors noticed the 2 older children were playing in and near the street. They were concerned about those kids, kind of were trying to get the kids out of the street a little bit. There weren't any parents outside. Then the kids were begging for food. They would come over there and ask for food all the time, something to eat, something to drink. The neighbors would give it to them, of course. The mom had asked for a water hose where she could, wash some things off in the backyard because there was, as it turned out, no running water in the house. So when the children were out in the street, the neighbor decides to go to the house to try to get mom, see where's mom, what's going on. Opens the front door. Mom is passed out in the living room. Can't get mom to wake up. And so ultimately the authorities are called. And what they ended up finding in that house was that the children there was very little food in the house. The 5-month-old had basically just spent the last 5 months in the car seat, and that's where they found him, in the living room with mom. Mom had a very severe substance abuse issue, and she's still struggling with that to today. The 2 older children, they had not had their immunizations. I mean, they basically were just kind of running wild because they didn't have a parent who was parenting them. And so those kids have really flourished in foster care because they have, 2 of the children are in Bossier, and 1 of the children is in Red River. And they have wonderful foster families who likely are going to end up adopting them. Who have just loved them, have wrapped their families around them. They have given them structure. They've given them discipline when needed, but mainly they've given them consistent love. And that's what these kids need. It's just heartbreaking when they come into care, and it's such a horrible situation. And a lot of times the neglect is really due to parental substance abuse issues, mental health issues. A lot of times the parent themselves may have been raised in foster care, or at some point they were removed and then sent back to their home. So we sometimes see this as a generational issue. The family that we have, the 8 siblings, the mom was raised in foster care. She was one of 9. She and all of her siblings were raised in foster care. She actually has 9 children herself. The oldest child has now aged out of care, and the 8 younger children are all in care. Those children are in 4 different homes. So if you think about, these kids have, normally the oldest sibling has really kind of become the parent. And so kind of imagine how hard that is for the older sibling, because now the younger ones are split off a lot of times because they just don't have homes that are large enough to accommodate that many kids. So there's so much need. This is a place where we as a church, Josh was talking about that we are a generous church, and I believe that. We're a hospitable church. We have an opportunity to serve just those who are in dire need. It's so awesome to me that the Christmas tree went out today. Every one of those tags represents one of the 35 kids that are in foster care. So this is through CASA. We have CASAs are court-appointed special advocates, and they come to court and they advocate on behalf of children. They are the only person in the room whose sole job is to advocate on behalf of the child. My job is to be neutral. Their job is to advocate and to tell me the things that the kids need and want. The foster parents are coming and sometimes, and they're making those requests too. But the CASAs are really special, and they develop a really special bond with the kids. And so it just warms my heart to see this over here. And I want to tell you one brief story. We've had, in the past year, 15 months, we have had 4 children. Actually, we've had 5 children removed as a result of sexual abuse in the home. 4 of the 5 were sexually abused by their parents. One of the children, she's an only child, and she was removed as a result of sexual abuse. Her mother was in prison. She went and was living with her dad, and dad introduced her to methamphetamine at the age of 10. He raped her. It was just a terrible situation. And she finally disclosed that, and so she was removed. And her CASA actually goes to church here. We have quite a few CASAs who attend fellowship, which is awesome to me as well. And about 4 weeks ago, they're giving me the signal back there that I'm almost out of time. Okay, so 4 weeks ago, that child, she's in foster care in Shreveport. She was baptized at the church that she attends in Shreveport. And that just is so impactful because these are lives redeemed. And y'all have the opportunity, we all have the opportunity to redeem lives. And so I want y'all to consider what you can do, because we can all do something. Obviously, all of us should be praying for these kids. But I think that there's more that we can do. That may be a financial investment by taking a tag off of that tree. It may be volunteering to be a CASA. It may be deciding to go and get certified to be a foster parent. Because that child was baptized because she was introduced to Christ in her foster home. And her CASA got to be a part of that. She went to church and she watched the child be baptized. And the child called the CASA and said, please come to church. I'm going to be baptized on Sunday. And she was able to do that. And so I just want you to consider how you can make a difference, because we all can. And I know that the Lord is going to lay something on each one of your hearts about what that means for you. I want to encourage you, Faith and Fostering. I have the opportunity to serve on the board with Faith and Fostering. They service children or young people ages 18 to 24 who experience homelessness. They may be kids coming out of foster care. We have a number of children who age out of foster care, and they don't have anywhere to go. They're 18. Imagine being 18 and you've got no one. We now have extended foster care, which will allow them to stay until 21, but still at 21, and you've got nobody. And so they provide housing and food and stability to allow these young people to get on their feet and to get an education, and so that they'll have an opportunity to have a productive life. So again, please, you can all do something. Consider what that means for you. Thank y'all.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Now, to transition just for a moment, she's mentioning how many people, because we have lots of people in here who are parts of CASA. We have actually quite a few people who have already been certified through foster care and who are fostering, some who have adopted. I mean, our church has reached quite a few, but we continue to do that. We continue to plant seeds every year, and so I want you to see the impact now in a video that's going to show specifically TJ and Melissa Hansen, who through something just like this, year after year, they never saw themselves necessarily doing something of this nature, but God began to lead them, and just as I believe he'll lead many of us in different ways. Check out this video.
Hi, I'm TJ Hansen.
And I'm Melissa Hansen, and we've been going to Fellowship Church for 3.5 years. About 2.5 years ago, we started trying to have a baby, and it turns out that it's going to be very hard for us to have a baby. And we decided that IVF wasn't a route that we wanted to go, and that we wanted a baby now. And we had attended Orphan Sunday probably about 2 years ago. And that's when we had talked about, okay, well, if we're not able to have kids, then this is something we'll check into. Because prior to finding that out, we would have never thought about.
No, 3 years ago, I never would have considered it, probably. I know I hate to say it like that, but I just, I wasn't aware of it as well. And Fellowship made us aware of it. Having Orphan Sunday and stuff, made me and her both way more aware of, of what we could do, by helping out, orphans and stuff like that. It's, it's scripture. it's biblical. So that's the route, you know, we chose to take.
Yeah, that's where that seed was planted. And honestly, a big part of me is thankful now that we weren't able to have our own kids, because it opened our eyes to the need for these kiddos. They need families and they need love, and they need Christian families that are going to make an impact in their lives. Even if we don't get to adopt, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's about these kiddos and making an impact on their lives and their families' lives too. Because they see us and, you know, they know that we're praying for them.
This just feels so good to, you know, take in somebody and take care of them, knowing how, you know, their life may could have went. You know, if we're not able to keep him, then, you know, that's God's will. But, you know, we'll definitely make an impact on his life and his, you know, maybe his family. Maybe they'll see, you know, Jesus in us, and, you know, it may help them out, you know, not just the, you know, the kids, it's helping families out. So once we started to do foster care, we started the process. It was an 8-week, kind of like a class. We did it online, and they talked about anywhere from safety of, you know, like infants, how they're supposed to be sleeping, to issues they could have, like, you know, abuse and
Drug exposure.
I guess it was probably 4 or 5 months, and they called Melissa, and I was in Fayetteville, Arkansas when she called me, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty scared, because you have a choice to accept or not when they call, and you know, we accepted, obviously, and
we drove down south and picked him up at the hospital, and we had a ton of support from friends and people within the church, and we went down and got him, and whenever we were in the NICU room, that was pretty special. Cry. We walked in there and saw him. He's perfect.
yeah.
And the nurse spent a lot of time with us, and we were there for hours.
Yeah, we was there all day.
Yeah, she knew we were new parents, as well as new foster parents. So we brought him home, and you know, he's doing good. And
Life's been good.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard, you know, my whole life from people that, you know, like stepdads that's raised sons, stuff like my stepdad raised me. You know, he's always said, you know, I love you just like if I had my own son. And I always knew, you know, he loved me without a doubt, you know, but I always thought, well, if he had his own son, it'd probably be, you know, a little bit different, but it ain't. It's, if I had my own, it wouldn't be any different.
So we brought him home, and he is just been a great baby since day one. He never hardly fuss or sleeps good all night. And we weren't sure how long, or, you know, still aren't 100% sure how long we'll have him. We hope we get to adopt. But through DCFS, we have a foster worker that comes out once a month to check on him. We have a CASA worker that's a court-appointed special advocate from our area, and she just checks in on him, and if we have any concerns for court, we talk to her about that. Everything's been really smooth and a really good process. I have no complaints, honestly, about anything. So I really feel blessed that we've had such an easy experience so far, and such a perfect little baby. So if you're sitting out there today, just try to keep your heart open to what God may want you to do. There's so many things that you can do, but if you're praying about it and you're thinking about it, pursue it, because they're worth it.
Yeah, it's a lot of kids, babies like this, all the way up, teenagers, all in between that, you know, need families, and
there's a big need.
It's a big need going on right now.
All right, here we are. We're back for an update. We're 2 years now removed from the first time that we came to you. 2 years ago exactly, or close to that time, we had just finished up with our
training for foster care, and that was eventful. I think we shared that a few years ago, and we said that we were getting ready to hopefully start fostering, and we did. January of the next year, we got a call on a Wednesday, is that right? I think it was a Wednesday. Got a call, and they told us about a baby boy who was in a hospital whose mom had abandoned him, and it so happened to be Beckham. And we picked him up literally the next day. Didn't think we were going to get him until Sunday because I had just come back from India, and then we were having our men's retreat getaway. And anyway, and so I had just gotten home, and then next thing you know, on Thursday, the next day, we get the baby and take him home. And then so last year, we told you guys that we had Beckham for quite a while. We'd been going through the foster care system and court dates, and honestly, our journey really wasn't that hard.
No. So even though his biological mom was not involved very much during the process at all, it still was a process for us. So it took almost a year and a half to have the biological parents' rights terminated. And then just this last October 4th, we actually had his adoption. So he is fully ours now, Beckham Tyler Burford. And we're so grateful and thankful for that.
And of course, bringing a baby into your life obviously changes everything. But bringing a baby and then the system, as she was mentioning, the visits, all the things that go along with that, you know, there is disruption, but we would never have gotten to experience the love that we've not only gotten to give towards and to Beckham, but also the love that he gives to us, and the fact that he has a safe place to live. He has a family that loves him. He has a brother and sister that adores him and that plays with him, and he has a bright future. We don't know what the Lord intends to do in his situation, but we do know what we pray for, and we do know that our God is a good God. And so we're just so thankful for the opportunity to do what we've done, and hopefully to encourage and influence other people who maybe have never thought about fostering or CASA or any of these different ways that you can make a difference, is to step out and get out of your comfort zone, pray about it, and let God move you to helping those who aren't able to help themselves.
So I was just telling Josh the other day that along these same lines, that God did not call us to be comfortable, but he called us to be obedient, and loving the least of these is one of those many ways that we can do that. Foster caring may not be for everyone, but there's still, just like Josh said, so many ways that you can help and make a difference in the foster care world without fostering. Respite is a huge thing. It provides rest for families during times of when they are fostering, and it just provides their family, like I said, with rest, which is super, super important. Also, just taking a family a meal when a child comes into care is huge. Maybe going and rocking a baby are just some of the ways that are so impactful.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Jared.
And we're the Trahams. And a couple of years ago, just to recap, we started to pursue foster care. We went through all the classes, and we were certified in March of 2020. In June of 2020, we got our first placement, Corey, and he was 6 months old when we first got him. We've had him in our home for about 18 months, and as of the end of September, we were able to get guardianship of him, and so he is officially ours.
And now we are working towards the adoption process, which should be completed hopefully in the next 3 to 6 months. Something that I think a lot of people may be asking is fostering for us, is it something that we should be getting involved in? And something that we asked ourselves when we first got into it. And I do believe you need to be led of God in that. I do believe that it can be very rewarding, and there's many things that you get to have an input on as far as making a change in your kids' lives. And it is really something that I would ask everyone to pray about, to see if the Lord's calling you into that. Being in the system as we have been, I think part of that is also understanding that God calls us all for different seasons and different times to be involved in different things. And sometimes the system can be difficult and can be hard, and God gives us different callings and different visions, and each child that you're able to make a difference in, like Corey's life, that child's forever changed, and there's good that comes from that, even if you're in it for just a season. Some people are called in to be in it for a very long period of time, and God gives them a special grace to be able to be able to apply and be able to move through the system and make a difference continually. So I just believe that everyone should pray about it and everyone should definitely be engaged and involved, because I do know one thing: the more that God is present in the foster system, the better the foster system would be.
One other thing that I'd like to add to or just state, that was a very important, very vital in our situation, our foster care situation, was our CASA. If you are not called to foster or have kids in a foster home, a CASA is a great way to become an advocate for these kids, to be a voice really for the voiceless. The judge, the court, they weigh heavily on their thoughts, their opinions, what they see, what they hear, and it's just a great way to advocate for them and to speak up for them, because they cannot speak for themselves. And so I just think that that's a really important role, a very important position that that others can help in the foster care world. Another great way that you can help foster families is by supporting your local foster closet, like the foster closet that's at Cypress and Benton. That they have been a huge help to us. You can always donate your gently used clothes, baby items, articles, all the things that babies need or require. That has just been such a huge help and resource for us.
Oh, Corey. Corey is so much fun. Oh, was that not awesome? I mean, that's right. That's right here. That's inside of our church, and we're able to be a part of that. And so I want to wrap this up. It's in your notes if you want to do it. If not, I'm just going to say a few things. We are to care about what our Father cares about. That's there. We're to care about what our Father, our Heavenly Father, He cares about. And He cares about the widows. He cares about the orphans. He cares about those who can't help themselves. That's what He cares. He cares about many things, but He cares about them. And it says in Psalms 68, verse 5, it says, "A father to the fatherless and a protector of widows is our God in His holy habitation." He wants to be known by that. So I could only imagine as His children that He'd want us to be known by that as well. And it's bearing so much fruit in the lives of the people within our church. One of the things that hasn't been mentioned on this video, because I don't know how many people we've had think about this yet, but when we were doing training, there were quite a few older people who were in a different situation in life where the house had become empty or whatever, and they had a little more time, because a lot of the children, it's really cool to fall in love with the baby, but in some cases, as a child goes through the foster care system and they get older, it's a little bit harder. It's actually a lot harder in some cases to find them a home. And so some of these people that were in the training they had a heart for the teenagers or preteens. They had a heart to open their homes to help them, because they weren't in the same position that they were in. They weren't working full time, and they had the time to be able to devote and just pour in wisdom. So on one side you see it, I don't want to put our minds to, well, it's only the babies. Yes, the babies. But there's also that age group in between, in the teenagers, and as was mentioned with faith and fostering and people aging out and the opportunities. So please do not close your mind and say, well, that's a young person's game. And as Jared mentioned, this is truly wise, is there might be a season. You might do it for a couple of months or for a couple of years. I met some people who had to get recertified, because you have to get recertified every so often. And she had been doing that for years at that point in time. And so you might do it for a long time, and you might only do it for a little while. You might get certified just to be a home that's already certified so that you could watch someone else's kid while they went away for a weekend or they went on a vacation. Some of these kids can't go across state line. You have to get permission when you're fostering to go to even Texas potentially, depending on how the judge is. You have to ask those things. And so I'm just saying, just keep your ears, keep your eyes open. Secondly is when it becomes personal, you care. When it becomes personal, you care. When you have something invested, you care. Right now, 153 million plus is a statistic. Like that doesn't, it's big. It's almost half the population of America, but it does not touch your heart. But if you've been one of the ladies who've been so gracious and so kind to love on our kids and rock the babies here at FCC, and you've gotten to hold and rock Corey or Beckham or any of the other foster kids who've come through here, or just any of our babies in general, like, you know them. You know their personality. You know what makes them laugh, what makes them giggle. You know them. Like, it changes. Like, when it's your child, there's nothing gonna stop you from providing for their needs. And so what I'm saying is, you will never feel it until there's some level of investment in it. Until you got something to gain from it or something to lose from it, right? You know, otherwise it becomes basically a Christmas commercial around Christmas, Thanksgiving, where it's a, you know, Sarah McLachlan song and a sad animal that's been mistreated, and you change the channel kind of deal because you're just like, man, I don't want to see that stuff, right? So I'm just saying, like, until we make it personal, it's really hard to feel it. It's hard to care about it. But I just would encourage you that this is something that we're called to do that is such a huge blessing. Erica, her father was adopted. And so it was personal for her to pursue adoption, her dad. And so like his whole family lives up north, biological family lives up north. And so they've met them over time and developed some level of relationship. But again, his father and his mother here exposed him to Christianity, exposed him to the teaching of the word, exposed him, and that's why she's here. And now we're married and making a family of our own and creating a legacy each and every single day. And for me, I personally felt it was just like, it's the right thing to do. You know, I mean, there's a lot of times, is it the easy thing to do? Of course not. I'm not, and we're not, as Christians, looking for the easy thing to do. Like, that's not what we're called to. It's very nice when things are comfortable and easy. I'm not complaining about that at all. But that is not what we're called to do. We're called to be difference makers. That's what we're called to do. We're called to make a difference. There's no doubt about it. And so for me, I just saw it as a visual picture of what God does with us. He adopts us and brings us into his family, does he not? He adopts us and brings us in, not by the will of man, but by the will of God himself. And so here we are. And now here's Beckham in our lives. And third and close here is this. You can make a difference if you choose to make a difference. Here we are. You can make a difference if you choose to make a difference. Like, it's right there. Just one foot out in front of the other. You gonna have it all figured out? Of course not. I have nothing figured out. I'm just doing the best I can, winging it sometimes and praying through the whole thing. I don't have it figured out. But I'm having a blast. And one day I'm going to get to look back and say, I'm so thankful that whatever sacrifices were made along the way, they don't mean anything because of the joy that I get to experience. And I'm just encouraging you with those words. And so it's been mentioned a couple of times here. You've been mentioning seeds. And Amy actually said that of the young lady who was brought into a home, who has exposed her to the gospel of Jesus Christ, who has given her life to Christ to follow him. That's worth it all. That is worth it all. Who then invites the casa, whether they do or don't go to church, I don't know, but it invited them because they're so excited. Come and be a part of my special day of getting baptized. And so I took this acorn from my dad's place in Texas, and it's a big one. He could probably tell you exactly what kind of oak tree this is, but it's a cool one. And so right here lies what? A lot of potential, right? In two different scenarios. A lot of potential, two different scenarios. Ready? Here's one scenario. That child, who of no choice of their own, is being mistreated in some form, in some fashion, or neglected. You plant it in the right soil. You take that child and you plant them in a soil where they are loved, they are tended to, They don't have to worry about their next meal, stuff that kids shouldn't have to worry about anyway. They're brought in, and they get the physical touch that they need. Who knows? Who knows what comes out of that? And then the other scenario is us. Who knows if, because every single time Orphan Sunday comes around, a seed is planted. And that's why I'm saying right now, there is a family in our church right now who's about to start the process of the 8-week training that they just mentioned. Because when the seed's planted, you can't see anything as it's beginning to open and then take root until it begins to sprout up. And this is where, as you've heard in every single case, every single person on the video, my sister Amy, myself, pray about what the Lord would have you to do. We're all in different seasons at different places, but we all are able to, in our different seasons and different places, to do something. You can make a difference if you choose to make a difference. And so as Trent comes up right now, we're going to close the service with a little bit of a different song. It's by Switchfoot. It's called Live It Well. And the whole thrust of the song, as you're going to hear, and I'm asking you while he's singing, you can sing along if you want, but I would really like you praying. So just praying. Life is short. I want to live it well. That's the push of the entire song. That's exactly what he's called us to do. We get one opportunity, one life. Let's do something with it. And when this service ends in just a moment, 2 things. Please go back to that table when you're leaving out and make sure to talk to them, to say thank you for sharing. We're going to have someone representing Foster, Casa, Faith and Fostering is going to be back there as well. Make sure to come up to this tree. As she mentioned, I didn't even know that at that moment, but these 35 are 35 children in our community, in our parish. We were trying to make it so easy. Do something. Let's stand and pray. Father, we come before you, Lord God. Touch all of our hearts. Soften our hearts to care about the things that you care about, Lord God. To not be short-sighted, but to have the long view in mind. Our eyes set on heavenly things, Lord God. Move hearts this morning powerfully, Lord God. We ask of that and plant a seed within every heart here for in some form, in some fashion, to do something that the gospel of Jesus Christ might be displayed through our words and in our lives. In Jesus we pray.